Hello. Today I want to talk about really what I consider a tragic problem amongst academic blacks and blacks placed in high-profile positions who have been completely indoctrinated in postmodernism, and more specifically in the postmodern doctrine that there really is no such thing as truth or even facts. The expression "my truth" is an ultimate expression of postmodernism because it conflates opinion with truth, and it also conflates perception with truth. It's absolutely true that we do perceive, speaking of truth, things differently. Someone who likes driving fast may find it invigorating, someone else may find it frightening. Both people may say that a rose has a fragrance, but whether they perceive it as a good smell or not is a different matter. But the fact that a rose has a fragrance is an objective fact. And the black community as a whole, when it was a primarily Christian community in America, blacks used to be hugely Christian, did believe in truth and the importance of truth. Those of us who grew up watching Sanford and Son back in the 70s remember the redoubtable Aunt Esther, Fred Sanford's sister-in-law, who was an exaggeration of the black church lady, but was also the show's moral center. And she would routinely tell people, "The truth shall make you free," as this video shows.
Don't let him leave till he promises to stop telling that wicked lie about my sister. What do I have to do to prove it's true? Tell you the time, the place, and everything? Just tell the truth, sucker. For the truth shall make you free. That's junk.
Nowadays, thanks to postmodernism, truth is often seen as a tool of oppression. It is considered a white virtue, a colonialist virtue, and a master virtue, and people who are in subordinate social positions, regardless of how rich and famous and well-placed and powerful they are, but if they can claim victimhood for whatever reason, they can use their truth to their advantage. And two examples have emerged in the last week, and I wanted to discuss them. One is sort of a small-scale example, and it is the basketball player, the WNBA basketball player, Angel Reese, talking about the tragedy of her never having dolls who looked like her when she was young. I gather she got a Barbie sponsorship, and instead of saying, "I love playing with them," she said, "There were no dolls like me." Here's the video.
What were some of the dolls you played with when you were little?
Honestly, I didn't have a lot of dolls because I didn't have dolls that really looked like me much, and that's why I kind of really wanted to make sure this was super intentional, because now that they have a doll that looks like you, and nails and hair, but also you can be a killer on the court as well. So that was something that was important for me when getting the doll.
There's one problem with that, and this problem, you can see it in a tweet from Sports Patriot, which also shared the video. And the tweet points out that the first black Barbie doll came around in 1968, Christy. I remember her. I might have owned her. Black friend to Barbie. A black Barbie came out in 1980. American Girl introduced Addie Walker in 1993. In 1998, Mattel had a black basketball-playing Barbie doll in an authentic NBA uniform. The toy aisles were flooded with black Barbie dolls and black other dolls by the year 2000. Angel Reese was born in 2002. In other words, her memory is either completely wrong, or her narrative has been, truth has been subordinated to her necessary narrative. That's a little example, but I bet you can go through your memory or go through the internet and find lots of examples like that. The bigger example is a story that's unfolding in Cambridge, and I actually knew about it a couple of weeks ago when it first emerged. The British Telegraph was the first to report on this. I get the Telegraph thanks to a friend. Thank you very much, my friend. And I looked at it and I just ignored it, because to me it was such a common story. But it's becoming a big deal because it turns out that the man at the center of it may be a complete fabulist. And I say maybe because he's also litigious, so I'm not accusing him of anything. I am just relaying the facts which I had ChatGPT assemble. But I'll start with the story from the Telegraph. I've got the picture of Jason Arday and the Telegraph's headline on the screen if you want to look at it. Cambridge's diversity poster boy in plagiarism row, youngest black professor in university's history, is subject of bitter argument between academics. And if you scroll through the article, it talks about him becoming a Cambridge professor at 37 and a quote, a poster boy for the university's diversity drive, his impossible odds. He was a poor Ghanaian child or a British-born Afghanian descent, brought up in a council estate in Clapham, autism, nonverbal until the age of 11, epileptic, only learned to read and write at 18, but somehow managed to make his way into academia and actually have a doctorate. I mean, what an amazing story. Except a lot of it may not be true. And what broke the story and suggested that a lot of it may not be true was that someone actually looked at his thesis. But let me get back to some of his narrative, because it wasn't just that he was born a poor black child, which sounds like Steve Martin. Anyway, according to him, he also completed unbelievable endurance events, running 600 miles in 6 days. He said he raised as much as 5 million to 5.5 million pounds for 70 charities. He said that he got a pig's head sent to his parents' home as part of a racist campaign against him, that he experienced multiple physical threats, that he was on this long-running British show called 7 and Up that looked at children over the years to see how they developed and what life choices they made. All these claims. It turns out that not only does he seem to have plagiarized large parts of his doctoral thesis, often word for word, but also that many of his other claims are not borne out by the facts. So again, not accusing him of lying, not accusing him of plagiarism. He is litigious. Regarding the doctoral thesis, he claims he had inadequate supervision. His autism and learning disabilities weren't properly accommodated. He had autistic mimicry, which saw him have a near perfect photographic memory and simply repeat it. He couldn't afford a proofreader. He didn't intend to do it. Other academics do it too. And hey, everybody's racist, and I'm going to sue you. There were other allegations of plagiarism in other papers once that surfaced. It turned out also that a lot of his narratives about his life don't stand up to scrutiny. He doesn't seem to have run 30 marathons in 35 days. He doesn't seem to have done 300 miles in three days or 600 miles in 6 days. He doesn't seem to have raised all that money for charity. He doesn't seem to have gone overseas to bring water to impoverished people in the third world. He didn't visit Glasgow as a visiting professor. He wasn't a professional football and snooker player. He probably wasn't on the receiving end of the pig's head and other harassment claims he alleged. He didn't show up on that 7 Up show. It goes on and on and on. Again, not saying he's lying, just saying there's a disconnect between his narrative and what the objective facts seem to show. What he reminded me of, and I'll tell you, this is why I didn't do anything with the story when I first saw it. I didn't realize it would blow up as it is because there's so many stories of black academics plagiarizing. I asked ChatGPT to find the top 10 best documented strong cases of academic plagiarism for a decade, and it came up with 7. Claudine Gay, the former Harvard University president, black. Neri Oxman, a former MIT professor, Israeli-American, so not black. Rachel Hardiman at the University of Minnesota, who was the founding director of the university's Center for Anti-Racism Research for Health Equity, black. Robin DiAngelo, not black, white fragility. Sherry Ann Charleston, another Harvard person, she was the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, having previously held a similar role at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Black. Tracy Jones Barrett at MIT, a diversity administrator, Black. Alana Anderson at MIT, a senior diversity, equity, and inclusion administrator, Black. So of the 7 most strongly documented claims of plagiarism, 5 of them were Black women, which is far out of proportion to their 13 or so percent Blacks representation in America. And of course, Black women are probably about 7% of the American population. Something is going on here. And going back to Aunt Esther, Christianized Blacks once knew that the truth shall set you free. But Blacks who live in a leftist charged community, whether in academia or in the high echelon world of sports, are told that regardless of their fame, accomplishments, and power, because they are systemically a member of a victim class, the truth is whatever they need it to be at the moment. And if they need to borrow someone else's work, that's fine. If they need to tell a life story that seems to bear little relationship to the truth, that's fine, because truth has become irrelevant, and it is a tremendous tragedy. It is a systemic breakdown, and it is something that needs to be spoken about. So here I am speaking about it. And on that cheerful note, thank you so much for listening.